Welcome to another episode of Angel in the Afternoon. I believe this is episode 95. So, if it isn't, just go with it because that's what I got. My name is Angel Rivera, of course, and this is Angel in the Afternoon. This week, I'm by myself since Alex Knight is obviously not here, or else he would have been here by now. He had something come up last second, so it's just me this week. So hope everybody enjoys the show. Make sure you like, make sure you give me a subscription, make sure you hang out in the chat, and I hope everybody enjoys the show. I hope everybody had a great week. And well, let's see who's here so far. Happy Valentine's Day. Oh yeah, today's Valentine's Day. Forgot. Or I didn't or yeah, I forgot. Legitimately, because I had no idea today's Valentine's Day. Hey Sean, Witchy's here, of course. We also have a few other people here. Mastermind, thank you for joining us. If you haven't already, make sure you liked and subscribed and all that good stuff. So let's get started because I'm not I just want to get through this as quickly as possible. And let's see, I got so many tabs open right now I can't find what I'm looking for. Bear with me 1 second. Yeah, we're starting off with this. Hold on a second. Here we go. Now it popped up. So we got this anonymous clip. This clip. Oops, excuse me. That that went up last week or earlier this week, February 7th. So it's last week, but I just got around to didn't get a chance to get to this last week. So here we go. To me, this came across as really fake and phony, and it's like a lot of neoliberal talking point bullshit, that came across for me in this. So I'm just gonna play it. It's about 3 minutes long, and then I'll pause and give my thoughts as usual. So let's get started.
Greetings, citizens of the United States. The
Scary voice.
effects of Donald Trump's presidency are no longer distant warnings. They are here, unfolding before you. While many remain unaware, blinded by the administration's relentless efforts to suppress the truth, the rest of the world is watching, and it is responding. Long-standing alliances with key nations such as Canada and Mexico are fracturing inch by inch. The cracks are widening, and the global community is reassessing its trust in the United States. The question is no longer if, but when these relationships will collapse entirely. The consequences will be severe. Every imported product you rely on, everyday essentials, food, technology, will see skyrocketing prices, making even basic necessities unattainable for the average American. What you perceive as a simple rise in costs is, in reality, a calculated strategy.
Of course.
The plan? To systematically dismantle the lower class, to push those already struggling into the abyss of poverty where they will face an impossible choice. Perish or submit to servitude under the wealthy elite. Make no mistake, this is economic warfare, and the target is you. The recent ICE raids are not just about immigration enforcement, they are about control. The Trump administration seeks to reignite the flames of racial inequality and segregation-era policies, erasing diversity to craft a nation built on division and fear. These operations are disrupting local economies, forcing businesses to crumble, and ensuring the economic elimination of the working class. What follows is a society engineered to serve the interests of the few at the cost of the many. And as the oligarchy takes shape, another darker ideology is creeping into the mainstream. Fascist ideals, once whispered in the shadows, are now being openly embraced. Symbolism matters. Gestures matter. Elon Musk, a figure of immense influence, recently tested the waters with a gesture recognized worldwide as a Nazi salute. This was not an accident. It was a message, a challenge, a warning. But know this,
It was a message. Elon Musk using the Nazi salute. Message.
People are not silent. Despite the administration's best efforts to muzzle dissent, the voices of resistance grow louder. Trump's reckless overhauls, his purges of experienced government officials.
If this was really anonymous, they wouldn't give a shit about his purges of experienced government officials. So that right there told me this was total bullshit, and there's no way this is really anonymous. But it's more.
his chaotic restructuring of critical infrastructure.
Chaotic restructuring of critical infrastructure. Again, more neoliberal, technocratic, PMC talking point bullshit. So Anonymous would not give a fuck about this. It was real, by the way. If this is really Anonymous, as it claims to be.
Have created vulnerabilities, weaknesses, entry points. This transition period is his greatest liability, but it is also our greatest opportunity. The rushed implementation of new systems, the mass firings of key personnel, and the chaotic dismantling of existing structures have left behind critical gaps that Anonymous can and will exploit. Every system that has been hastily restructured without foresight, every official removed without proper transition planning, leaves behind exposed veins within the government's framework. These vulnerabilities are more than just bureaucratic inefficiencies. They are cracks in the foundation that can and will be breached. Anonymous watches. Anonymous waits. The time to act is fast approaching. The administration's arrogance blinds them to the fragility of their own system. Their overconfidence in their ability to silence dissent and erase opposition will be their undoing. We know where to look. We know how to strike. But understand this, our intervention, no matter how disruptive, will only be a temporary roadblock unless you, the people, rise. This is your warning. This is your chance. The transition period is fleeting, and once they solidify their grip, your options will vanish. If you fail to act now, the cost of resistance will be far greater in the future. To those in power, think carefully. Your decisions now will determine your future. We are Anonymous. We are Legion. We do not forgive. We do not forget. Expect us.
Bullshit. We are Legion. Yeah, total bullshit right there. There's no way I'm buying for a second that's really Anonymous. So, yeah, those talking points and stuff, they reminded me of some PMC liberal, technocratic Democrat. That's what it reminded me of. Like, well, we have this and all this other stuff. It just reminded me so much of like Democrat Party like talking points here. So no, I'm not. I came across that last week. We couldn't get to it because we were so much at a time that So let's see. Sean says Anonymous never waited. The OG Anonymous was an offensive force. Yeah, that's what I said. I don't buy this 1 second. I give even odds as Harry Sisson behind the mask. I mean, like people. Somebody else said, who was it up here? Mastermind. Yeah, if Anonymous was real, we would have the Epstein list. Yep. Again, that's why I'm saying this is not really Anonymous, but that popped up in my timeline last week, so I figured why not. So this is old man Democrat here who had a Mitch McConnell moment. He kind of froze, so I thought this was pretty funny. Let's check this out.
Don't worry, no one on the Republican side in the House and Senate who control
so this
both
is
the House and Senate.
John Larson, who's a Democrat from Connecticut, Ways and Means Subcommittee on Social Security. He's the ranking member. Okay, let's watch him freeze and have a Mitch McConnell moment.
Senate is going to speak up.
There it is. Frozen. Do you have a stroke?
Challenge us.
Yes, he did. He needs help. He still needs help. They cut away from
We
him.
need to protect Americans' privacy and
Old man
their
still needs
social
help.
security.
Uh-huh.
For 40%
Gosh.
of all Americans, Social Security is
He
the
needs help.
basis for their retirement and their retirement savings. And for 28 million Americans, Social Security is the only thing that they have.
There he is. He's back.
And that's why we have to make sure that we are protecting it
They got water. See?
as well.
Somebody put a cup of water next to him. That's being needed.
The gentleman's time has expired.
It's expired. He had a minute where he was just like, he glitched like, just glitched. I'm not going to go as long as he did, but, he completely glitched on us here. I mean, just like your standard old man, very just poor old man. Part of me feels, a tiny, tiny part of me feels bad for him. Let alone if he's going to do that, he shouldn't be in power. Because he's still in Congress after many, many decades, I would assume. Because there's no way in hell this guy would, there's no way he just resigns randomly. He retires. No, I mean, once they get into power, they'll never leave. Look at Nancy Pelosi. Look at Chuck Schumer. Look at Mitch McConnell. I mean, who else? There's so many of those guys in Congress. Dianne Feinstein died in Congress in the Senate. I mean, they would push her in a wheelchair, and then she would vote on bills. So until she died a couple of years ago. But yeah, I mean, once they get in, look at Joe Biden again, the last president of the United States. Look at him. He's completely like, what the hell he was at half the time. He would fall on his face. He would fucking do all this stuff, just humiliate himself in the country. But nonetheless, he was still there. Didn't resign. Hell, he would have ran for re-election if it wasn't for that horrible debate performance he had with Donald Trump back in June of 2024. But I digress. It's elder abuse. Yep. Sean says, "What is his Logan's run in reverse?" I mean, anything is possible these days. I mean, it's let's oops, my thumbnails or my tabs are not correct here. Just bear with me 1 second. So there we go. So Donald Trump has also shut down the wait a minute. Just bear with me 1 second. Why is it not loading properly? Here we go. If you haven't already, make sure you give me a like. Make sure you subscribe to the channels. And on the INN YouTube channel at 10:30, we're having a replay of Tuesday's episode of Jesse Jet's show, so American Tradition. So check that out on the INN YouTube channel. Here we go. So Donald Trump has also suspended the National Endowment for Democracy. So this is basically another CIA cutout that the CIA created and the government created. So now Donald Trump has suspended the National Endowment for Democracy. This is Dave DeCamp. He's going to explain this more for us. So let's check this out, and then we'll react to it.
So the Trump administration has frozen funding to the National Endowment for Democracy, the NED, which is a U.S.-funded organization that meddles in elections and pushes regime change around the world in the name of promoting democracy. So the NED, which was founded during the Cold War in 1983, received $315 million from the U.S. government for the 2025 fiscal year, according to this report. So the NED is essentially a CIA front or a CIA cutout. And its founder, Alan Weinstein, one of the co-founders of the NED, acknowledged to the Washington Post in 1991 that a lot of what the organization does was done by the CIA covertly 25 years ago. Washington Post columnist David
And now they did it. They did it openly, and now it looks like they are ready to take control of the operations again and put it underground. That way, we don't know about it because we figured out what the hell the NED is and USAID is and all this other crap. We've all figured it out. So they're like, to hell with this. We're just going to bring it back underground again because clearly the American people know what we're up to here. So let's just make Donald Trump into the good guy by shutting down all these programs and let's bring it back underground again so nobody would know about it.
David Ignatius at the time listed some examples of the NED's overt action that was previously done by the CIA, including providing money and moral support for pro-democracy groups, training resistance fighters.
Pro-democracy groups, remember? They're pro-democracy.
Working to subvert communist rules.
No, we can't allow communism, obviously.
When it was started, it was focused on, the Soviet Union, but of course it expanded to across the whole world. And the NED has been targeted by Elon Musk. And it's interesting that Musk is going after NED and USAID when in some sense he supports their regime change efforts. Like in Venezuela, I know he was very kind of amping all that up. So Jim Bovard, who's a senior fellow at the Libertarian Institute, he replied to Musk's post with an article about how he has been critical of the organization. So I put a few quotes from Bovard here because I couldn't think of a better way to bash the NED than him. So in a 2009 article for the Future Freedom Foundation, Bovard said that NED is based on the notion that its meddling in foreign elections is automatically pro-democracy because the U.S. government is the incarnation of democracy. NED has always operated on the principle.
The U.S. government is the incarnation of democracy. So if we say that a country is a democracy, by definition, it's a democracy. Doesn't matter whether it's actually democracy or not, but we are the arbiters of what country is democracy and what isn't, according to at least the elite in Washington. So
principle that what's good for the U.S. government is good for democracy. In a 2006 piece for the American Conservative, Bovard detailed NED's efforts to push for regime change in Latin America, how in 2001 NED quadrupled its aid to Venezuelan opponents of elected president.
That's not what the NED is supposed to be doing. And that's supposed to be giving money to, to forces that are pro-democracy of Venezuela against Hugo Chavez. Meanwhile, Hugo Chavez was duly elected by the people of Venezuela, but since it's not in America's interest, by definition, it's not a democracy. You see how this game is played?
President Hugo Chavez, and NED heavily funded some organizations involved in a bloody military coup that temporarily removed Chavez from power in April 2000.
All about 2 days. Chavez was back after 2 days, being removed from power. That's how much of a failure that was, by the way.
Too. After Chavez retook control, NED and the State Department responded by pouring even more money into groups seeking his ouster. And Bovard said that the International Republican Institute, one of the largest NED grant recipients, played a role in both the Chavez coup and also in the overthrow of Haiti's elected president in February 2004. There was an uprising in Haiti that left 100 people dead. That was led by an array of NED-funded and aided groups. So, very nefarious stuff.
That's the National Endowment for Democracy, just another USAID, another CIA cutout. So let's see. So we're not done here. We got some more when it comes down to the National Endowment for Democracy. This is Max Blumenthal. He gets another good explanation here.
Pelosi was among a bipartisan cast of lawmakers on hand.
Remember, bipartisan. Both parties agreed to this shit. Now, it's not just Democrats or Republicans. Bipartisan. When you hear the word bipartisan in Washington, you're getting fucked. So whatever you do, clench your assholes because you're going to get fucked when you hear the word bipartisan in Washington.
On hand to pay homage to the NED. Though the NED markets itself as a politically benign entity, advancing democracy and human rights, its record tells a different story. The NED drew its original leadership from a group of Cold War ideologues who had formerly belonged to the Trotskyist Social Democrats USA Party. Founded in 1983 by then-President Ronald Reagan, the NED became an international...
Oh, there you go, Ronald Reagan. If you hear Ronald Reagan, again, clench your assholes because you're about to get fucked. But just like if you hear bipartisan in Washington.
...national vehicle for the neoconservative agenda.
It's good to have you all here to help celebrate the launching of a program with a vision and a noble purpose.
Over the years, the NED and its partner organizations have largely served the interests of right-wing, free market parties and corporate interests.
So we have the International Republican Institute, the Center for International Private Enterprise, the National Democratic Institute, and the Solidarity Center. So all of these, spin-off organizations are also CIA cutouts, and they're also ready to fuck over democracy for any American interests. As long as American interests are, in play, they will side with the American empire. And that's the whole point of these organizations.
Corporate interests around the globe.
In Central America. From ABC, this is World News Tonight with Peter Jennings.
Good evening.
Wow, Peter Jennings. I mean, I feel kind of old, I know who he is. But
10 years, the U.S. supported the military attempt to overthrow the Sandinista government in Nicaragua. It never succeeded. Today, the Sandinista government has been overthrown at the ballot box.
The NED's first success was the defeat of the Sandinista government in Nicaragua's 1990 elections, replacing it with the right-wing party of Violeta Chamorro.
Las dictaduras del somocismo y el marxismo-leninismo hoy terminaron.
Oh, by the way, the Sandinista government's back in power today. So, yeah, it may have been temporarily successful in 1990, but the Sandinistas are back and more powerful than ever. So it shows what a failure, ultimately, the National Endowment for Democracy and USAID and all these groups are that meddle in other people's affairs, and it's none of our business. So,
since then, the NED has advanced U.S.
Boris Yeltsin, again, the absolutely drunk president of Russia, the first president of Russia.
interests in countless countries. It helped swing a Russian election for Boris Yeltsin in 1996. It drove a failed coup attempt in Venezuela in 2002.
For about 2 days, before Hugo Chavez came back to power. So
it orchestrated a successful one in Haiti in 2004, and another one in Ukraine in 2014.
Which is the most recent example of a coup d'etat that the NED was successful in. So that's, that coup, one of their last famous coups ended up being what led to the Russia-Ukraine war of today, which we'll get to a little later in the show. What's going on with that. But, yeah, I mean, the United States cannot stay out of other countries' businesses. I mean, we can never do that because we are the arbiters of what a democracy is and what it isn't by definition, at least what we believe in Washington. So,
which paved the way for neo-Nazis to move into the political mainstream.
Valentine's Day.
Nowadays, instead of having just the CIA going around behind the scenes and trying to manipulate the process secretly by inserting money here and instructions there and so forth, they have now a sidekick, which is this National Endowment for Democracy, NED.
These words from Philip Agee, the late CIA whistleblower, were openly confirmed by Alan Weinstein, a founding member of the NED. Weinstein told the Washington Post in 1991, "A lot of what we do today was done covertly 25 years ago by the CIA."
Yeah, just openly admitted, hey, look, what we do today, that was done by the CIA decades ago in secret. Now we're doing it openly because, hey, we can get away with it, right? Now they can't get away with it anymore. You can argue thanks to the internet or thanks to, so many different things, all these independent media outlets that have covered, like the USAID or NED and all of these sister organizations that have come out. Now they're going to basically bring that all back in-house again, which is the whole point of why Trump is shutting down USAID and the NED and all of these other organizations. It's not because they're looking, Elon Musk is looking for waste, fraud, and abuse. That's all bullshit. What's going on here is they're bringing us all in-house again. So ultimately, it's plausible deniability. What are you talking about? I mean, it turns out that, it turns out it's in the budget. Well, I don't know about that. I mean, so people like Donald Trump can say, I don't know. I mean, I signed the budget, but it's not supposed to be there, So it's going to bring it back in-house again, and they're going to bury it deep in the budget. So the only way you can find out about it is if you take the time and go through the budget, like a forensic accountant, basically. That's the only way you'll know about it. So, yeah, that's what's going on here. A lot of these organizations are being shut down and being absorbed by the U.S. government, whether it be the State Department or the CIA or the NSA or whatever. All this stuff will be buried deep in their budgets, and it'll be miscellaneous expenses or something. We won't know anything about it now.
There's a lot of reasons, I think, for Americans to promote democracy.
NED funding has almost quadrupled since the group was founded. In the past 4 years alone, it's directed at least $4 million into parties and media outfits in Nicaragua. That prompted an NED-funded publication, The Global Americans, to boast of the role the group played in laying the groundwork for change in Nicaragua, where violent protests today threaten to topple the country's elected president, Daniel Ortega. The article went on to say that it's becoming more and more clear that U.S. support has helped play a role in nurturing the current uprisings. Another top target of NED and its Washington partners is China. The U.S. has worked closely with Uyghur Muslims.
And it goes on from there, but clearly NED is working with the Uyghur Muslims and try to undermine China, so China, our next big enemy here. So, yeah, expect the Trump administration to go all in on being anti-China. So, China. So, let's see. This is more. This is Kyle from, I'm pretty sure it's antiwar.com. Yeah, so the editor, antiwar.com. Trump suspends funding to National Endowment for Democracy. The Trump administration has frozen funding to the National Endowment of Democracy, NED, and we got liberals melting down from this. I mean, it's like they are completely it's Chernobyl style meltdown. We'll get to Chernobyl a little later in the show with Russia because that's relevant, but yeah, I mean, they're melting down like it's Chernobyl 1986 again. So they're like, oh, Donald Trump can't do this. He's not authorized to just shut down these programs. Like, I could give zero fucks, even if he isn't authorized. But as we all know, all this stuff will be moved back in-house. They're not just going to stop spending this money. This will be moved back to the State Department budget, the CIA budget, or the NSA budget. It'll be buried there, something called miscellaneous expenses or whatever. And we'll have no way of knowing. But I digress. It's a U.S.-funded organization that meddles in elections and pushes regime change around the world in the name of promoting democracy. Total bullshit, by the way. Complete bullshit, by the way. As Sean says, they're just moving into another department. It's 100% true because that's what they're doing. According to the Free Press, an order from Elon Musk's Department of Government Efficiency, aka DOGE, to the U.S. Treasury Department, the blocked the disbursement of funds to the NED has crippled the organization's activities. It has been a bloodbath, the NED staffer told the FP, which is, I think, the foreign press or something. We have not been able to meet payroll and pay basic overhead expenses. By the way, world's smallest violin for you. I don't really feel bad. All right, where were we? Here we go. Should probably click on the whole article instead of just doing that. But whatever. Here we go. Okay, it's a free press. The FP is a free press. It's been a bloodbath and payroll. The NED, which was founded during the Cold War in 1983, which we already know, received $315 million from the U.S. government for fiscal year 2025, according to the report. In 1991, Alan Weinstein, the co-founder of NED, acknowledged to the Washington Post that the lobbying organization was done covertly by the CIA 25 years ago. We already know that. I was just covered. The Washington Post columnist David Ignatius listed some of the NED's overt action that previously done by the CIA, including providing money and moral support for pro-democracy groups, which is bullshit, by the way. It's groups that will look out for the U.S. interests, training resistance fighters, more people looking out for the U.S. interests, and working to subvert communist rule. I mean, God forbid we have communism, right? We can't have that, especially in the Western Hemisphere. The NED has been targeted by Musk, who asked his followers in a recent post on X to list all of the evil things that NED has done. Jim Bovar, senior fellow at the Libertarian Institute, replied with an article about how he's been critical of the organization for 40 years. By the way, these libertarians seem to be legitimate. They've been criticizing these regime change organizations for decades, but at the same time, they tend to vote for Republican, which are pro these organizations too. So I digress. In a 2009 article for the Future Freedom Foundation, Boulevard said the NED is based on the notion that it's meddling in foreign elections automatically pro-democracy by definition, because the U.S. government is the incarnation of democracy, which we saw in one of the videos earlier. The NED has always operated on the principle that what's good for the U.S. government is good for democracy, because by definition, the U.S. government is the arbiter of what's a democracy and what isn't, even though we ourselves are not really a democracy. I digress. In a 2006 piece for the American Conservative, Boulevard detailed NED's efforts to push a regime change in Latin America. In 2001, the NED quadrupled its aid to Venezuelan opponents of elected President Hugo Chavez. And NED heavily funded some organizations involved in bloody military coups that temporarily removed Chavez from power in April 2002. I think either 2 or 3 days. He's out of power 2 or 3 days. But what happened, if I remember correctly, it's just 20 years ago, but what happened was there was a general strike. People in Venezuela refused to work, they refused to do anything, and they shut the country down until Hugo Chavez came back into power. It took 2 days or 3 days, but eventually he did come back to power because they needed the country to get back to work, obviously. So imagine if Americans did a general strike. We all came together and said, all 300 million of us, how many Americans actually are working right now, and say, fuck it, we're not going to go to work until we get our demands met. I don't hold your breath on that, but I hope one day we can do something like that. Let's see. After Chavez retook control, the NED and the State Department responded by pouring even more money into groups seeking his ouster, he wrote. Boulevard continued, the International Republican Institute, one of the largest NED grant recipients, played a key role in both the Chavez coup and also in the overthrow of Haiti's elected president, Jean-Bertrand Aristide. I butchered it, but whatever. In February 2004, an array of NED-aided groups and individuals helped spur an uprising and left 100 people dead and toppled Aristide. Butchered that too. So, yeah, so that's the NED. That's so, yeah, let's see. Bear with me 1 second here while I... Oops. So now, let's see here. Let's see what we think. We got tacos. Okay. No, you said that better than I could, Angel. Well, thank you. I mean, I try, and thank you very much. So if you haven't already, make sure you like, subscribe. Also, there's a my throat is itchy again. But make sure you like, subscribe, share, comment, hang out in the chat, all that good stuff. Everything helps. And let's see. So we got let's see. Before we get to that, let's get to this. Sorry. Bear with me 1 second here. I'm kind of all over the place here. So we got the situation here with Eric Adams. As everybody knows, we have prosecutors who are refusing to drop the case against Eric Adams, even though the administration have ordered them to drop the case. And we have a bunch of virtue signaling and grandstanding coming from these prosecutors. So if I do that, maybe that'll help. Thank you. Happy Valentine's Day to you too. Happy Valentine's Day to everybody. If you all right, so let's see. We got prosecutors asked to drop corruption case against New York City Mayor Eric Adams, rather. The Department of Justice filed a motion to dismiss this corruption case against New York City Mayor Eric Adams, the latest move in a row between Trump administration and career U.S. attorneys. 7 Justice Department lawyers, including the top U.S. prosecutor in Manhattan, resigned over an order to drop the case. So they won't drop this case. Apparently, they think that they have a slam dunk case against Eric Adams, the administration, or specifically the the Department of Justice is ordering to drop the case. U.S. Attorney General Pam Bondi told Fox News Friday that it was her understanding that the case against Adams would be dismissed today. Adams was indicted last year on fraud and bribery charges. He denies any wrongdoing. The request to drop all charges required approval by a judge. Earlier this week, acting Deputy Attorney General Emil Bove, Bondi's second in command, ordered the Manhattan Federal Prosecutor's Office to end the case. Bove argued that the case against Adam had restricted the mayor's ability to address illegal immigration and violent crime, two of President Donald Trump's key priorities. But several Department of Justice employees, including top prosecutor in Manhattan, Daniel Sassoon, viewed the order as politically motivated interference in an independent judicial system. Sassoon resigned from her post on Thursday, following by 6 of her colleagues. She said dropping the case would set a breathtaking and dangerous precedent. The latest prosecutor to resign in protest had been ordered to drop the charges. Hagen Scotton wrote in his resignation letter on Friday that U.S. laws and traditions do not allow for using prosecutorial power to influence elected officials. Sorry. If no lawyer within earshot of the president is willing to give him that advice, then I suspect you will eventually find someone who is a fool or enough of a coward to file your motion. Scotton wrote in the letter addressed to Bove, but it was never going to be me. In the letter accepting Sassoon's resignation, Bove said his office would be investigating the attorney, claiming she had lost sight of the oath that you took when you started at the Department of Justice. In a statement, Bondi's chief of staff, Chad Mizell, defended the decision to dismiss charges, saying that it showed that this DOJ will return to its core function of prosecuting dangerous criminals and not pursuing politically motivated witch hunts. Mr. Mizell, who said that prosecutors who refuse direct orders have no place in the department. Adams, who was indicted last year for allegedly accepting gifts totaling more than $100,000 or 75,000 euros or pounds, I think that is, from Turkish citizens in exchange for favors. Oh, those goddamn Turks giving all this money, allegedly. In Sassoon's resignation letter, she also said Adams' lawyers had met with Justice Department officials and asked for a quid pro quo, saying the New York City mayor could help enforce Trump's immigration policies if the case against him were dismissed. But Adams denied that was the case. By the way, I would not be surprised if this is exactly what's going on here. Like, hey, look, man, if you let me, can you be a mayor? I'll help enforce your immigration and crime policies. I mean, I'll be an ally. Please don't prosecute me. Don't put me in jail. So that's really, I would not be surprised that's what's going on here. I want to be crystal clear with New Yorkers. I never offered or did not, nor did I or anyone offer on my behalf any trade of my authority as your mayor for the end of my case. Never, he said in a statement on Friday. Why do I smell bullshit then? I mean, I smell bullshit. I mean, I just want to, I don't know whether that's my upper lip or what, but I smell bullshit. Let's see. Adams, a Democrat, has accused investigators of pursuing a politically motivated case against him because of criticism of former President Joe Biden's immigration policies. The New York mayor also expressed a willingness to work with Trump since he won the White House. He flew to meet with Trump at his Mar-a-Lago home in Florida days before the Republican president took office. After a meeting with U.S. Border Czar Tom Homan on Thursday, Adams says he would allow immigration and customs enforcement to reestablish an office at the city's Rikers Island jail. So if you're in New York City and you're a legal alien, you live in Rikers, you're going to be fucked. I'm sorry, there's not much you can do. Anybody can do for you. Just make sure you know your rights. Trump has denied had any involvement in asking prosecutors to dismiss the case against Adams. But Bove's letters described his instruction to drop the case as direct orders implementing the policy of the duly elected president. Again, that does not mean Trump did anything. He has plausible deniability there because it said as direct orders implementing the policy of a duly elected president. It doesn't say he didn't say the president directly ordered this. So the governor of New York State, Kathy Hochul, has the power to remove Adams from office. Really, I didn't know that. That's a new one. No wonder why I've been hearing Democrats say, Kathy Hochul must remove Adams from office because he's in cahoots with the administration. And I'm like, how can she do that? Well, apparently she has the power to do that. I did not know that. So I did not know that. That's a new one for me, new information. While she's not said she would take such action, she has also indicated she hasn't entirely ruled it out, telling MSNBC that she is consulting with other leaders in the government at this time. The allegations are extremely concerning and serious, she said, but I cannot, at the governor of the state, have a knee-jerk politically motivated reaction. And I've seen liberals kind of melt down over this, that she needs to remove Adams from office ASAP. And that's probably the reason why, because they think that Eric Adams has a quid pro quo with the Trump administration, even though I think he personally does, but there's no evidence for it, obviously. So there's no direct evidence that he has a quid pro quo with the White House. And just because he allows immigration to reestablish their office, the Rikers Island, does not mean that he has any agreement with the White House. So doesn't mean he doesn't have an agreement with the White House, but I'm just saying doesn't prove that he does. So, all right. So let's see. This is so. Also, this needs to be. So this Doge thing to me is nothing but a giant oops, sorry. Bear with me 1 second. Well, that sucks. Bear with me 1 second. Why is this not working? Oh yeah, that's way too big. Bear with me. Let's try reloading that. Oh, that doesn't work either. Might have to do that. Here we go. I'm gonna go back. Sorry about that. I don't know why. Here we go. Sorry about that. But as we all know, I mean, this is just a
and I'm Kenna Whitworth in Los Angeles. We begin with our top story.
Who cares about that? Leave me alone. This is a giant distraction because we got, as everybody knows, as we talked about earlier, a lot of these organizations, and especially the USAID and National Endowment for Democracy and all these other organizations that Doge is going after, is basically just a way how to shut this down and remove it from the public eye. Because Elon Musk benefits from a lot of this too. So we're not acting like, he doesn't benefit from this. He's just looking, Donald Trump's going to be the good guy by shutting down all these organizations, and Elon Musk is a good guy too because, he's involved in it. So, judge hearing arguments over Musk's authority to run Doge defers ruling on restraining order. 14 states are challenging the constitutionality of Elon Musk's role. Let's see. The federal judge hearing arguments on whether tech billionaire Elon Musk's role to Department of Government Efficiency is unconstitutional indicated that she would not issue a ruling Friday on temporary restraining order blocking Musk's effort. 14 states filed a federal lawsuit Thursday alleging Musk's expansive authority is a violation of the Appointments Clause of the U.S. Constitution, which calls for anyone being deemed a principal officer of a U.S. government to be formally nominated by the President of the United States and to be confirmed by the U.S. Senate. So you can very easily get around this by saying, well, Elon Musk not really head of his organization. He's just either a temporary head or something. It can, even if the judge rules that is unconstitutional for Elon Musk to run it, you can get around that very easily. The states are seeking temporary restraining order to block Musk and Doge from continuing their work. But U.S. District Court Judge Tanya Chutkan, I think this is the same judge who had one of Trump's criminal cases, at a hearing Friday said that she wants a narrow request from the plaintiffs. Judge Chutkan, who oversaw Donald Trump's election interference case, that's why I recognized that name, said she wants a modified request at 5 p.m. Saturday, after which she will issue a ruling on the temporary restraining order. The states in their lawsuit argue that the president does not have the constitutional authority to unilaterally dismantle the government. Well, he's not doing that, though. That's total bullshit. He's not doing that. Yeah, but if he were doing that, that's different, but he's not doing that. Doge is just letting us know what you may not like. Doge, you may not like what they're doing, but they're letting us know allegedly all this corruption and all this stuff. So there's no reason why. I mean, these 14 states, I'm pretty sure my home state is one of them too, New Jersey. So it's like, of course, we're involved. We're shit libs over here. So we're all involved in trying to stop Donald Trump in every way possible. Nor could he delegate such expansive authority to an unelected, unconfirmed individual. In a motion filed Friday, they asked Judge Shotkin to immediately block Musk from altering the funding of or any agency or placing any employees on leave, from canceling from government contracts, from accessing any sensitive data, and from asserting control over any agency. Well, when Donald Trump gave him that authority, I mean, I'm sure that lost train of thought. Whatever, let's move on. Chutkin oversaw a 2023 criminal case that charged Trump with undertaking a criminal scheme to overturn the result of the 2020 election to effort to remain in power. Total bullshit. Trump pleaded not guilty to all charges, and the case was dismissed following Trump's re-election in November due to a long-standing Justice Department policy prohibiting the prosecution of sitting president. Doge, led by Musk, the centerpiece of the Trump campaign's promise to trim the federal government, has found itself in the crosshairs of multiple federal lawsuits that allege that it has improperly accessed sensitive records and unlawfully gutted government agency. Federal judges have temporarily blocked Doge from accessing sensitive data. The Treasury Department, while the Department of Education recently reached an agreement to limit Doge's access to student loan records. That's Linda McMahon's organization, by the way. So she's not officially been confirmed, but she'll be. I suspect she'll be confirmed some point either tonight or tomorrow or probably on Monday. In their motion Friday, the 14 states allege that Musk has already cut billions of dollars from agencies' budgets, which I have no problem with. I don't know why these states have such an issue with this. Fired agency personnel. Again, I have very little sympathy for these bureaucrats. And that he has moved, in his words, to delete entire government agencies and has canceled government contracts, announced plans to sell government property, and has promised to withdraw a multitude of regulations across different agencies. He has installed his own teams into agencies, has given access to agencies' most sensitive data. Again, I don't really care too much about this, but in other words, an individual accountable only to the president if he answers anyone at all. He answers to the president of the United States, obviously, or else he would not be doing this. Is exercising apparently limitless power within the executive branch. Mr. Musk's conduct has wreaked havoc on the federal government and has caused mass chaos and confusion for state and local governments, federal agencies, the American public, and people around the world who depend on the United States leadership and support. The filing says. That part right there. People around the world who depend on the United States leadership and support. This is a lot of those there are a lot of those neoliberal shit libs are worried about, well, we give money around the world. The soft imperialists, as I called them last week. They're really soft, and the soft imperialists that want to continue our influence around the world. So if that money gets cut, then they don't get to feel good about themselves, and they don't get to be the good whites who are worried about the brown people around the world. So that's really what they want here. So that's why they want Elon Musk to stop doing this, stop ruining our party here, being soft imperialists. Well, Mayor Adams says, I give the Attorney General the BBC. Oh, good to know. Good to know. I didn't need to know all that, but I digress. So let's see. So right now we have everybody knows. Big breaking news. Yesterday, Donald Trump and Vladimir Putin, the Russian president, had their conversations about finally ending the war in Ukraine. So far, those talks have gone, seems to be they've gone well, because both Russia and the United States are, they're excited about this, and they're right now, and they've gone over to Munich, Germany, with the Munich Security Conference. I'm not sure if Russia's there or not. Putin's there or not. He probably isn't there, but they definitely want to continue talks at some point. Of course, the reason why I think they're going well is because the EU, the European Union, NATO, and Ukraine are melting down over this and talking about how horrible this is. So that tells me that these talks are going pretty well, which is why I made that comment that the talks must be going well, or else then there's no way that these people will be melting down over this. So, yeah, let's see here. So let's do that. Oops. Mayor Adams says you've not seen my videos. No, I haven't. I absolutely have not. And quite frankly, I don't really have much of an interest to see them. So, I gotta make that bigger. Hold on, let's. So we got Primo Radical says the world's a safer place when Russia and the United States act like friends, not enemies. That's 100% true. I mean, look at what we did. World War II. No, there you go. Obama and Putin, and Obama and George W. Bush and Putin. When we're friends, everything is so much better and so much safer, quite frankly, too, as Primo says. And not, we're not completely, fucked. Because right now, we're not friends. And, we're not friends and all this other stuff. So I'd rather be friends with the Russians than fucking enemies, So let's say. So we got let's do this. Oh, okay. You were talking not so all right. So let's start off with Donald Trump and his thoughts from yesterday.
Yesterday were pretty accurate. I don't see any way that a country in Russia's position could allow them, just in their position, could allow them to join NATO. I don't see that happening. And long before President Putin...
Oh, well, yeah, he's not wrong there. I mean, why would the Russians allow Ukraine to join NATO? Which is the exact reason why this war started to begin with, because Joe Biden had a genius idea in his deteriorating brain to say, oh, yeah, I mean, Ukraine could be welcome to NATO one day. What? Are you fucking kidding me? That's what directly led to this invasion, in order to stop that vote from happening. The same exact thing happened in Georgia. I mean, Georgia had the thought in their heads, and they were being supported by the EU and NATO for Georgia to join the EU and NATO, which is why Putin invaded Georgia and took territory from them too, because they thought and everybody thought it was a good idea for them to join NATO and the EU as well. So, yeah, this is the only reason why all these Putin's doing this. It's not because I mean, he's some kind of tyrant and dictator and just like to take people's land. That's bullshit.
Putin, Russia was very strong on the fact that I believe that's the reason the war started, because Biden went out and said that they could join NATO, and he shouldn't have said that. As soon as he said that, I said, you know what? You're going to have a war now, and I was right about that. This is a war that would have never happened if I were president.
But you don't think it's President Biden's fault, not President Putin? I mean, he's the one.
I think Biden is incompetent, and I think when he said...
Oh, he is competent.
They could join NATO, I thought that was a very stupid thing to say. I thought when he said, well, it depends if it's a minor incursion. In other words, it's okay if Russia does a minor incursion. I thought that was a very foolish thing to say.
Not wrong. Ladies and gentlemen, he's not wrong. I mean, I know that liberals I'm sure will melt down over that, but he's not wrong. So we got liberals. So we got breaking. We got also from yesterday. Scared the shit out of me. We also got this from yesterday from Fox News. So
President Trump has just spoken with Russian President Putin, and some details come directly from the president. He has just put out on his Truth Social, and so it's everywhere now, that they discussed Ukraine, the Middle East, energy, artificial intelligence, and the dollar. He also revealed the two agreed to visit each other's countries. He said, I had a lengthy and highly productive phone call with President Vladimir Putin of Russia. I just read what he said they talked about. We both reflected on the great history of our nations and the fact that we fought so successfully together in World War II, remembering that Russia lost tens of millions of people, as we likewise lost so many. We each talked about the strengths of our respective nations and the great benefit that we will someday have in working together. But first, as we both agreed, so this is Trump posting about his recent call just moments ago with Putin. He said, but first, as we both agreed, we want to stop the millions of deaths taking place in the war with Russia and Ukraine. President Putin even used my very strong campaign motto of common sense. We both believe very strongly in it. We agreed to work together.
Putin knows what he's doing. I'll tell you that much. When he kind of appealed to Trump there, it's like, well, I'm going to use your campaign slogan about common sense. You know, Trump likes that. He likes to be, you know, sucked up to, or kind of, you know, like, hey, remember, I agree with you, Mr. President. You know, I mean, common sense. I want common sense too. Let's just end this war and give me everything I want. Which, again, I don't care about Ukraine, which is why if they want to keep the Donetsk and Donetsk regions, and they want to keep Crimea, and they want to keep the 2 parts of Georgia they have, whatever, I don't care. I mean, let's just end this war. Let's be friends, and let's just move on with the world, you know?
Together very closely, including visiting each other's nations. We also have agreed to our respective terms, starting negotiations immediately. And we will begin by calling President Zelensky of Ukraine to inform him of the conversation, something which I will be doing right now. So this is playing out contemporaneously as we're here live on Outnumbered. I have asked Secretary of State Marco Rubio, Director of CIA John Radcliffe, National Security Advisor Michael Waltz, and Ambassador and Special Envoy Steve Witkoff to lead the negotiations, which I feel strongly about will be successful. Millions of people have died in a war that would have not happened if I were president, but it did happen, so it must end. No more lives should be lost, President Trump writes. I want to thank President Putin for his time and effort with respect to this call, and for the release yesterday of Mark Fogel, a wonderful man that I personally greeted last night at the White House. I believe this effort will lead to a successful conclusion, hopefully soon. The president.
Well, yeah, I mean, I forgot there was an American that was released from Russian prison and landed in the U.S. yesterday or last night, and of course Trump was there to greet him and take political credit for that. And Putin, again, knows that Trump likes to do stuff like that. So, oh, yeah, let's just release random American A we have locked up here and, you know, make Trump look good. So he'll be more open to, you know, wrapping up and giving us what we want when it comes down to the end of the Russia-Ukraine conflict, war, whatever you want to call it. So, let's see. Putin on the Ritz says, I would never do such a thing. Nah, he wouldn't troll. He wouldn't troll. Yeah, I would not. Again, I tend to think so too. Honestly, it's like if this war probably never would happen if Trump was elected. So let's see. All right, so let's go. Let's go here. And let's do that because if I have to read, it should be bigger. Fiorella sent a lot of this this thread out, so a lot of this we already know. Let's see. All right, here we go. Let's just read this. Trump is showing diplomacy as this is his role, counter to Biden, who began the wars. Though let's not forget, Trump approved millions for the Ukraine initially. Trump won't abandon his rhetoric as he attempts to have the U.S. come out of this looking like we made. Trump won't abandon this rhetoric as he attempts to have the U.S. come out looking this like we made this happen. When the truth is we lost and we need to get out of it. So the intelligence is pivoting to China, West Asia, and Latin America, which is exactly what's going on. Now we're pivoting instead of to Russia, we're pivoting to China and West Asia and Latin America. That's where the empire is going to next. We're not bothering Russia anymore. Clearly, we lost in that front, so we've given up. Trump has also spoken with Zelensky, but it's clear who is driving the talks and who are the children sitting at the other table. As I said before, Zelensky will accept whatever deal Washington gives him because he has no choice. Because if he insists on continuing fighting, then he won't last much longer. Let's say he'll end up hanging somewhere, in a bridge somewhere. Let's just say that. Rubio and J.D. Vance also involved in these talks, among others. So, more what was discussed. In the conversation when Putin, Trump spoke in favor of rapid end to hostilities in Ukraine. Putin told Trump that he needs to eliminate the root causes of the Ukrainian conflict. They discussed the Middle East settlement and bilateral relations between Russia and the United States. Putin and Trump agreed in a telephone conversation to organize a personal meeting, but nothing else is there yet. The Russian leaders supported Trump's thesis that the time has come to work together. Russian president agreed with Trump that a long-term settlement in Ukraine could be achieved through negotiations. Trump said that he had a productive conversation with Putin. He discussed Ukraine, Middle East with Putin, among other things. The Middle East with the Iranian nuclear program were discussed. The U.S. president stated that Putin had agreed in a telephone conversation, among other things, to exchange visits. During the conversation, Putin and Trump touched upon bilateral relations between Russia and the Washington on the economic sphere. Putin and Trump discussed the exchange of Russian and U.S. citizens. That's an ongoing. Washington guaranteed the fulfillment of prior agreements, which has started already. There have been releases. Putin is ready to receive American officials in the Russian Federation, including on the topic of Ukraine. The UN welcomes any effort to resolve this conflict in Ukraine, is ready to participate in settlement if a corresponding request is received, and the Secretary General office stated. So the UN is willing to be into this. All right, now Russia knows this is a pivot for the U.S. The U.S. is clearly focused on expanding its hold in the Middle East and West Asia and on China. So it sees this opportunity to normalize relations with would-be adversaries like the new Free Syria under Giuliani, in spite of the fact that the Russian army was fighting him for years alongside Assad and the Syrian Arab army. This is why Putin still spoke to Giuliani. This is no coincidence. There were conversations in Doha before Syria fell, and now we are beginning to see proof of what a handful of us stated correctly. There are some agreements between them. And of course, Russia welcomes the end of the war with the NATO collective. There's war fatigue. Russia is in a position of power versus Ukraine and NATO in terms of having captured the most land and lost the least. Well, yeah, again, Russia won this war. It's obvious. It's over. It's over. No matter what the European Union and no matter what Zelensky insists, this war is over. Ukraine, on the other hand, is in a losing position. It will take the fall and lose a majority of the disputed territory, if not all of it. Not only because Russia has the upper hand, but also because this is part of the security guarantees the U.S. need to comply with. Donbass and Crimea are not up for grabs. So the Donbass and Crimea are part of Russia now. Yeah, part of the Russian Federation. There's not much anybody can do about it at this point. So Fiorella continues. Let's see. Let's see. The difference is with Tehran, if someone attacks it, Russia will not respond accordingly according to the treaty, but only go along with the UN Charter with North Korea. It will respond if it's attacked. Left pick is NK. Let's say. All right, let me read the top part first. Russia has normalized relations with Turkey, Saudi Arabia, not maintained its relations with Tehran, which is in cooperation, not direct military alliance, unlike with North Korea. This is the key. Russia has a State Duma-approved allyship with North Korea, but only an economic military cooperation with Tehran. The difference is, blah, 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 I already read that part. So the U.S. cannot attack North Korea because if it attacks North Korea, Russia will respond, and that's World War III because China will respond too, and we're off to the races. But that's why North Korea won't be attacked, no matter how much the U.S. postures and virtue signals and grandstands on North Korea. This also means Russia will remain neutral when it comes to Israel. Therefore, we're not fighting the U.S. in terms of full extent to expand Greater Israel. And even if we do see a Palestinian state, it won't be anything of power alongside an Israeli state. Russia wants a stable diplomatic region and has acted as neutral for a long time in regard to Israel and Iran. I don't see that changing right now. No, I mean this is again, this is a lot of the reason why this is a lot of the reason on why they removed Assad from Syria. They finally managed to do that. I think it's because if you go to the Greater Israel map, this dream of Netanyahu, most of Israel, most of Syria is a part of what's called Greater Israel. So if right, Assad was the ally, Putin. If Israel took most of Syria or tried to take most of Syria with Assad still in charge, then Putin would have had no choice but to stop that and start some giant conflict, some more external, bigger war. But now that Assad's out of power in Syria, and now this new group, whatever they're called, is in power. Now Putin could be more neutral, so Israel can take all that land without Putin having to do something about it. Excuse me. So that's what this is all one giant conspiracy. This is all one giant game that's being played on all of us. This is all one giant game being played on us here. So let's see. The problem is, as we know, the ME will never be stable as long as Israel and US exist there. The other problem is that the US wants to isolate China away from Russia. This seems far-fetched, but it's not, because the U.S. is already coming for China as it did before with the last Trump administration. It sees China as a major competitor economically and militarily. By pivoting away from Russia and Eurasia for now, it'll be able to focus on it. But Russia needs to understand, in my opinion, my honest opinion, what I don't think it's there yet, fully understood everyone, is the non-aligned access that you need to have to the U.S. If you give the U.S. your hand, they will take your whole arm. 100%. Again, that's excuse me. That's what we do. We just we don't just take what they give us. We'll take everything, and you'll like it too. They should know that the politics of Georgia against those who are anti-NATO, the NATO-backed forces in Moldova, the delegitimization of the election to Belarus, and the protests in Siberia, and the upcoming election in Poland. It's a U.S. NATO grip on the Baltic and Balkan states. They are going after them one by one. So by the time they return to Russia, because they will at some point, things can be very different in Moscow. In my opinion, it won't rest until it's balkanized. So as long as NATO exists in this matter. So, I mean, this is one giant play by the U.S. in order to get out of Russia finally, just get out of Russia, and then they'll then they'll go to China. They'll focus on China and Asia and trying to compete with China militarily, economically. And Putin is desperate for return to normalization with the U.S. Like, okay, look, we're done. I don't want to risk World War III anymore. Oh, you want to go after China? We'll stay neutral in that. Please, let's just end this shit so we can all go back to being somewhat friends for a few years at least. Just give us some time. But it's not that simple, of course, because we get first, before I get to that, we should get to this. Here we go. First, we should get to this. Donald Trump was asked about what negotiations between Russia and the U.S. So
the Russia-Ukraine war, you've suggested several things that Ukraine should give up. The idea of NATO membership, territory that was seized back in 2014 by Russia. What should Russia give up?
Russia has gotten themselves into something that I think they wish they didn't. If I were president, it would not have happened. Absolutely would not have happened, and it didn't happen for 4 years.
This is the press conference between Trump and Indian Prime Minister Modi. So that's what
Look
this
at what has taken place under President Bush. They lost a lot. Under President Obama, they lost Crimea. Under Biden, it looks like they could lose the whole thing. Under Trump, they lost nothing. Ukraine lost nothing. They didn't give up anything. And you take a look at the other 3 presidents surrounding me, they gave up a lot. I think that when you look at Ukraine and when you look at the mess that they're in, it's got to be ended.
It's got to be ended. That's all you got to say. It's got to be ended. I totally agree with that. Well, let's get to this because the war isn't going to be ended that simply. So now we're going to get oops, let's do that. There we go. Now we're going to get to some virtue signaling, grandstanding here from Ukraine and the European Union and NATO, because the European Union in particular, they're kind of rebelling against the US and this proposed peace deal between Russia and Ukraine, because they're all coming out grandstanding and kind of puffing their chest out like, oh no, we're going to continue supporting Ukraine and their battle for freedom against Russia, no matter what the US says. I'm like, bullshit, you are. You're just grandstanding. You're just puffing your chest out and grandstanding like you're actually going to do something. If the U.S. says this war is over, it's over, so you're going to have to accept it. But they're not going to go away without a fight, though. I mean, so we'll see what happens here. But Zelensky sent out this tweet, I think last night. Let me see, what date is this? Yeah, this morning, in fact. So he claims last night a Russian attack drone with high explosive warhead struck the shelter protecting the world from radiation at the destroyed fourth power unit of the Chernobyl nuclear power plant. So allegedly, Russia took a drone with high explosive ordnance and attacked the concrete encasing where the Chernobyl nuclear plant is at. This makes no sense, but I'll go over that in a second on why it makes no sense. This shelter was built by Ukraine together with other countries of Europe and the world, together with America, all of those committed to real security for humanity. The only country in the world that attacks such sites, occupies nuclear power plants, and wages all-out war without regard for the consequences is today's Russia. This is a terrorist attack to the a terrorist threat to the entire world. Total bullshit. Let's see. This shelter at the Chernobyl MPP was damaged by this drone. The fire has been extinguished as of now. Radiation levels have not increased and are constantly monitored. According to initial assessment, the damage to the shelter is significant. Every night, Russia carries out such attacks on Ukraine's infrastructures and cities. Russia continues to expand its army and shows no change in its deranged anti-human state rhetoric. This means that Putin is not definitely preparing for negotiations. He's deceiving the world, which is why there must be unified pressure from all who value life. Pressure on the value life. Pressure on the aggressor. Russia must be held accountable for its actions. Except that there's really no evidence that Russia actually did this. And in my opinion, there's no evidence for this yet. But in my opinion, this is like Nord Stream Pipeline 2. Remember that one when it was blown up and allegedly Russia blew up their own pipeline? Why would they do that? Turns out they didn't do that. We later admitted it was Ukrainians alongside it with assistance from us, the United States, just like we suspected from the word jump. So total bullshit. No, this is the actual video of this alleged attack. So, boo! Look at that. Wow. So that's an explosion. There it is on the Chernobyl power plant. The sarcophagus that's encasing the power plant. That's so. There's a tiny hole there, by the way. It's not even a big hole, but that scared the shit out of me. I did not expect that. Sorry about that. that water. Like I literally did. Wait, that's it? That's it? It's like a tiny hole. Well, I get that it's encasing, nuclear material and it's, leaking, but that could be patched with days of work. Like why are we complaining about here? That's it? It's not like it's a giant hole there which will take weeks to fix. I mean, that'll probably take a day of work to fix. My God. So there it is. That's the alleged attack of Russia. Even though they're claiming, oh no, they're not ready to negotiate. They still want to fight us, and we have to defend ourselves. Total bullshit. All right, so I've been responding to these jackasses all day. So let's go. Hold on a second. Let's start here. You know what? Let's just do that. There we go. So this is one. I've responded to a lot of these accounts throughout the day. So Russians strike Chernobyl nuclear power plant. This is? I don't know what this is. This is. Let me see what this is. Must be the Ukrainian military account. Let's translate this. Let's see what it says. I think it's the Ukrainian military account. I have to assume. All right. They claim Russia struck the Ukrainian nuclear power plant. I put total bullshit. Why would the Russians strike at Chernobyl when they're about to get the exact peace deal they want? Again, this is a total false flag operation. I'll be pretty sure once there's an investigation, it'll turn out the Ukrainians bombed Chernobyl in order to continue this war a little longer at the end of the day. So that's that. Let's see. So there's also this. By the way, make sure you like and subscribe if you haven't already. Make sure you do all that good stuff. All right, let's see. BBC News World says Chernobyl reactor shield hit by Russian drone. Ukraine says. By the way, just take the word of Ukraine, right? Let's not say Ukraine alleges. Let's say Ukraine says, that's the truth. I say there's zero evidence to prove that Russians attacked Chernobyl. No one should take the word of the BBC, which is taking money from the U.S. government to do propaganda, which is 100% true, by the way. They're taking money from the U.S., so I'm not making that shit up. Let's see. There's more here. So there's this now. This. So I don't know who this chick is, but eyewitness damage caused by Russian drone at Chernobyl MPP included Shahryad or Gran drone debris. Potential consequences could have been catastrophic. We must hold Russia accountable, not appease it. So let's see what this shit is.
This is how the Chernobyl confinement looks after Russian drone hit it tonight. The fire is localized, but beneath is the reactor that exploded 40 years ago, and there is still a huge threat of radiation, not only for Ukraine, but for the whole of Europe. This is why we call Russia...
Yeah, I call bullshit. Hold on.
Terrorist state.
Yeah, I call bullshit, because if there was radiation there and such a threat, why don't you have masks on? Why don't you have, protective gear on? Nobody has mask protective gear on. They're just walking around there like, oh yeah, what's going on? This another normal fire? That's their attitude. It's not like the experts are running around desperately trying to stop this thing and patch up that hole. They're not. They're kind of like, You know, I mean, it's just another Friday night here, another fire, whatever. Let's just move on with our day here. Just total bullshit, guys. I mean, they're really. Oops, I forgot to show. Yeah, they give really a huge threat of radiation. None of them had any protective gear on, by the way. I said, again, this drives me crazy. Why would the Russians attack Chernobyl? It makes no sense when they're about the exact peace deal that they want from the U.S. and Ukraine. It's obvious you guys want to continue the war in perpetuity. Just be honest about it. So it's just, it's so absurd. I mean, we're kind of running. So we got more bullshit now, which we have to debunk from this people here. Oops. Oh my god. I should just do this. Again, it's this news organization here. They claim to be let me see. They claim to be the largest Eastern European media outlet to let the world know. So NEXTA or Next A, whatever they're called. So they're just going to uncritically report what the Ukrainians claim, which is what this is here. I'm not going to read it, all that. Then I put just uncritically reporting pro-war propaganda. So I'll ask this again. Why in the world would the Russians attack Chernobyl, risking a large nuclear contamination if they're about to get the exact peace deal they want from the U.S. and Ukraine? I'll wait. No answers from these people. Just report that, just repeat propaganda, just desperately try to continue this war a little longer because they know that the cookies, the cookies are about to go away. Like their sweets, all that money they get is gonna be gone soon enough, and then they'll be screwed. So, which is why they're desperately trying to continue this war a little longer here. All right, let's see. Not this. Bear with me 1 second here. I already played that. Who cares about that? Where is it? There's so much more. Here we go. So we also got more nonsensical propaganda here. This time from, looks like from Ukraine themselves. Because this is the MFA of Ukraine Twitter account. So I'm assuming this is some kind of official state account because it's, that check mark is there. They basically, repeat the propaganda. On February 14th, Russia attacked a Chernobyl nuclear power plant with a combat drone, hit the shelter covering the destroyed fourth reactor. Barely a tiny hole there, but they don't mention that part, which protects Ukraine and the world from radiation. Does this look like Putin preparing for negotiations? Again, this is total bullshit. This is just a false flag operation, which by the time we all come back, hear me now, quote me later, turn out that some rogue faction of Ukraine, of military, attacked their own power plant in order to blame Russia so they can continue this war a little longer. That's exactly what's going on. I put, my God, it's total bullshit. It's pissing me off more and more. I was really annoyed earlier today. Me, a random podcaster nobody ever heard of, can somehow figure out that this is a false flag operation in order to stop any peace deal between the U.S. and Ukraine and Russia. You can't fall for this bullshit. It's bad. I mean, it's not even a good psyop or a good propaganda operation. It's just total bullshit, from the beginning. It's just total bullshit. All right. So we got more. I got more bullshit to debunk. Why does it keep doing that every 5 seconds? Oops. There we go. So now we got more bullshit here from whoever the fuck this is. He claims to be a political analyst and comms expert. Worked at NSDUA. What is this? Oh, Ukraine, of course. He's a political analyst and expert. Bull fucking shit, you're a propaganda artist. But he says Russia attacked the cover over the nuclear contaminated in capital letters station. They were flying for months over the exclusion zone, probably waiting for the first day of MSC 2025 or Munich Security Conference 2025 to send a peace message, quote unquote. I put this about the 20th tweet I've seen pushing this nonsensical propaganda that Russia attacked Chernobyl. So once again, no one answered this question for me. Why would the Russians attack Chernobyl when they're about to get the exact peace deal they want? I mean, this is like nobody can answer this question. It's like Nord Stream pipeline too. Why would they attack their own pipeline when they stand to lose hundreds of billions of dollars in oil sales? Why would they do that? Of course, they didn't do that. It turns out it was the U.S. who did that. And Ukrainians did that with the help of the U.S. because the U.S. government benefited from that, from sale of natural gas to Europe. But who benefits from this? It's obvious that that's Zelensky and his allies, because that way they get to make more money from this war. Total bullshit. It's not even a good psyop. It's not even a good propaganda campaign. I sniffed it out as soon as I saw it. This total bullshit. All right, let's see. There's another. Where is it? I'm looking for one in particular. There it is. All right, so this is just the worst kind of bullshit here. So this guy here, name is pronounced Kalin. He claims to be a journalist, director of Under Deadly Skies on Apple TV, won 12 film awards, and co-founder of Byland TV on LBC and Times Radio. So he's just going to push Russia, U.S. and pro-war propaganda here. He claims Trump has debased America by abandoning the West. Champagne is popping in Moscow tonight, yet the media wants to talk about this as is ending the war. Putin says he wants Europe. Any evidence for that, by the way? Do you have a quote? Do you have video, something that says that Putin said that at one point? So in other words, what this guy is claiming here is that Putin wants war with Europe. In other words, he wants war with all of NATO, because once you attack a lot, especially Western European state, Article 5 kicks in, which means you're at war with all of NATO. So not only so he started the Ukraine war to stop Ukraine from joining NATO, but at the same time, he wants to start a giant war with NATO. Makes no fucking sense, but at this point, propaganda doesn't have to make sense, I guess. So just watch him spew his bullshit and then a reply to this.
So right now I'm on a train to Kyiv, and I didn't intend on making this video, but there is a shit show.
Oh no, of course not. You didn't intend on doing this video, but you did it anyway.
Happening with the Trump negotiations right now, and the media are missing some super important points. The most important thing to know is that Putin doesn't want peace.
Oh no, of course not. He doesn't want peace, guys. He doesn't want peace, even though he said over and over again he wants peace. But he doesn't want peace. I mean, shit. He just wants to. Wait, let's see what he claims though.
Wants Ukraine's destruction. He said this.
Oh yeah, he could have done that within the first week when he invaded Ukraine, right? He could have taken Kyiv and destroyed Ukraine in the first week. He didn't do that. Why didn't he do that? Can you think of that, pretty boy? Oh no, of course not. You're just doing propaganda. I forgot. Sorry.
This openly, his propaganda says it clearly. Then he wants Europe. Trump called Putin for.
Wait, what was that? What he just
not wants Europe. Trump.
Secret Kremlin document reveals Russia plan for Baltic state. LRT investigates. Our investigation. I don't know. I don't even know what LRT even is. Bear LRT. So it's the Lithuanian. Hold on. Bear with me 1 second. It's the Lithuanian National Radio and Television. Lithuanian National Radio and Television is a nonprofit news network that's been providing regular radio services in 1926 and regular broadcasts in 1957. The LRT joined the European Broadcasting Union in 1993 and operates 3 television channels, radio station, and an internet website. By the way, I'm not 100% sure of this, so I can't assert it for sure, but don't be surprised if it turns out that they were funded by USAID or the National Endowment for Democracy. But let me get back to the video here.
Trump called Putin first, not NATO, not his allies. He called the dictator, and that's
yeah, because he wants peace. Donald Trump wants peace. Why would you call your allies first when you're basically Ukraine is a proxy for the U.S. So this is a U.S. proxy war against Russia. So you would call the person that you're, in order to get peace, you would call the person that you're at war with. You wouldn't call your allies first. That doesn't make any sense. That demand, would you have to call your allies first? No, you would call the person you're at war with so you can finally begin the peace process. But no, of course not. You somehow have to call your allies who will tell you, no, we must continue this war in perpetuity because we all make money off of it. You see how this game's played?
And that's a disaster. And the most important thing the media aren't talking about right now is that Russia is at its weakest point in modern history.
Bullshit. Total bullshit. Russia is just fine as it is. Trust me, they're doing good. Russia, and they won this war. They won the economic war and they won the military war, no matter what this dumbass kid here claims.
The ruble is collapsing. The Black Sea
total bullshit, by the way. It's not collapsing.
fleet is crumbling from a nation
bullshit. More
without
bullshit.
a navy. They're begging Iran for drones and North Korea for artillery. This was the moment to end Putin's war machine. And America?
And he keeps quoting news organizations that are pro-U.S. and pro-Western, take money from NED and USAID. But, let's just keep putting out bullshit, kid.
Just saved it. Another point is that appeasement caused World War II. And appeasement?
Oh, really? Appeasement. So what? Putin is Hitler? That talking point again? That is played out from 3 years ago? I mean, come on. You got to do better propaganda than that, because I could debunk this. Sitting here in my shitty little bedroom here in New Jersey, I can debunk this. I mean, come on. Step up your propaganda game. This is not good.
Appeasement is causing this, and America is leading it. Most importantly, the media keep framing this as ending the war.
It is ending the war.
A lie. Because
bullshit. It's not a lie.
Ukraine falls, Putin doesn't stop. The Baltics, Moldova.
So how do you say that? I don't understand the logic. It's like if Ukraine falls, which it wouldn't fall in this scenario because Ukraine will continue being the country. The only thing is Putin gets to keep the Donetsk and Donbass region. That's all you get in Crimea, of course. He gets to keep that, but everything Ukraine is still a country. It does not fall under any peace negotiation. Like he takes the entire country. Even though I'm surprised he didn't take the entire country from the word jump. He just took little pieces here and there, so this is just total bullshit. All right, sorry, let me go back a little bit here.
Putin doesn't stop. The Baltics, Moldova, and Poland are next.
How? Aren't they all NATO members? How would that work, kid? So, in other words, you're saying that Putin attacked Ukraine in order to stop it from joining NATO. But then, once that's done, he's going to attack in 3 NATO countries and start World War III when he specifically attacked Ukraine in order to stop them from joining NATO? How does this make sense? It's like it's mind-numbingly stupid. If you're going to do propaganda, do a better job of it. This is bad. This is absolutely horrible propaganda here. Absolutely horrible. And it's annoying because I have to debunk this bullshit. And it's not even good either. So I'm like, oh, wow, that's good, but it's still bullshit, but it's good. This is not even good. This is just like 2021, 2022 talking points here.
He's talked about this. But here's what also isn't being said. And that's that Ukraine doesn't really need America to win. They survived.
Yes, they do. Yes, they do. They need us to win desperately. That's why do you think Zelensky's melting down and running around, desperately asking for money and weapons? Of course they need us to win. No. That's wrong. That's wrong framing. They need us to stay afloat. They don't need they can't win. They can't win no matter what, because they're already running out of troops, they're running out of money, they're running out of weapons. Hell, they're not allegedly they're taking their weapons and selling them to Mexican cartel members. They're taking the weapons they get from us and they're proceeding to sell it. The Ukrainian politicians and the elites are selling it to Mexican cartel members. A whole other story that broke recently. So no, they don't need us. It's total bullshit. The war's over. The war's over. I'm done with this. The U.S. is also done with this because they want to move on to trying to start World War III with China now, and trying to ruin their influence and fuck with them. So yeah, they're all done. A little bit more of this bullshit.
Genocide, famine, they've survived the impossible, and they're still going to win, with or without America.
No, they're not going to win. They're not going to win. Sorry, kid. I hate to burst your bubble, but even the U.S. has admitted that Ukraine has no chance of winning this war. The U.S. intelligence and the Pentagon admitted that during the Biden administration that they had no chance of winning. So what we're doing is we're taking our money, we're giving it to the Ukrainians, and then flushing it down the toilets. That can be more useful here at home than, in Ukraine, where they take the money, put it in their pockets, or at the weapons that they do buy, the Ukrainian elites take it and they sell it to the Mexican mafia or cartel members, So just very brilliant there, kid. Just total bullshit.
America. But framing is still important and language is vital, so it's important that the truth gets out.
No, you just put out total bullshit for 1 minute and 13 seconds here. And it wasn't even good bullshit either. It was just blatant, total propaganda, lies, and swearing up and down that, hey guys, Ukraine doesn't need us to win. I swear, they're going to win. Even though they have no chance and they have no weapons and they have no military barely, but they're going to win. Trust me, because I get paid, I get money to say this stuff. Total bullshit. Pathetic. Oh, God, that pissed me off. Excuse me. This kid really annoyed me. Because he's such an asshole, too. He's so condescending and arrogant, too. I, of course, put this. So then. Really, when did Putin said he wants Europe? By the way, never explained. He never really. That's the part when you say I need a citation, because as far as I know, he never said that. Why would he want a total all-out war with NATO? The whole point of the Ukraine war is to make sure Ukraine didn't join NATO. Now all of a sudden he's going to start a war with NATO. It doesn't make any sense because it's total bullshit and it's pure propaganda, ladies and gentlemen. That's what's going on here. So this kid who apparently did a movie for Apple TV is spreading total bullshit and completely embarrassing, himself there. Good job, kid. Hope you enjoy it. Hope that check was worth it. All right, so let's go to this real quick here as well. A little more time. So this is the same account, which I didn't know until now when I just looked at this. So this kid here, Kolian, whatever the fuck he calls himself, he claims Trump disrewarded Putin with his campaign of genocide and slaughter in Europe. By the way, there was no genocide against Ukrainians. There was no, they killed Ukrainians. I'm not saying they didn't, but it wasn't a genocide. Completely ridiculous and absurd. So of course Russia just bombed Chernobyl. MAGA just gave them the green light, do whatever they like. Total bullshit, by the way. Because first, I can be almost 99% positive that Russia didn't bomb Chernobyl. They had no reason to do that because they're about to get everything they wanted. So why risk continuing this war when they're about to win it? So this more total bullshit here. Keith McHenry, who's a friend of the network, says worst false flag ever. Yeah, obviously. Anybody with half a brain can figure out this is a false flag operation. That ultimately we're guilty of pushing along with the Ukrainians. That's so. So we have more here from Trump. Let's see what Trump has to say here.
I believe he wants peace. I believe that President Putin, when I spoke to him yesterday, I mean, I know him very well. Yeah, I think he wants peace. I think he would tell me if he didn't. I'd like to see peace.
Do you trust President Putin?
I believe that, I believe that he would like to see something happen. I trust him on this subject. I think he'd like to see something happen. I think it could have happened a long time ago. I think Biden, number one, it shouldn't have started, but it did. And now all those cities are knocked down, like demolition sites. All those beautiful golden towers are knocked down. There's nothing going to replace them. But much more importantly, you lost millions of people. A lot of soldiers, but you lost millions of people. When they knocked down those cities, and they're all laying down on the side, they're laying down just in ashes and all crumbled up concrete. They literally look like a world-class demolition site. And many of them, almost all of them, but many of them, and this should have been done by Biden years ago. This should have never been allowed to happen.
Nope, should have never been allowed to happen, but it did. Because, the U.S. empire wanted it that way. Let's see. Who cares about what that bitch has to say? I have no interest in what she has to say. So now we have more bullshit propaganda, which I have to debunk. I don't know why that keeps doing that like that. Here we go. But we'll just deal with it. Jessica Berlin is a senior fellow for the European, what is it? The Center for European Policy Analysis. In other words, an organization that I'm almost positive taking some sort of National Endowment Foundation money or USAID money or something. She claims Russia bombed the remains of the Chernobyl nuclear power plant last night. No evidence for that, by the way. Any consequences, Europe? Or are we deeply concerned, perhaps shocked and outraged? Again, Russia didn't do anything. This is nothing but a false flag operation. So painfully obvious that I can figure this shit out. And I'm no genius. As I say, you people really want to convince everyone that the Russians bombed Chernobyl because it isn't going to work, just like Nord Stream pipeline 2. Why would the Russians bomb Chernobyl when they're about to get everything they want from the US? Which is a point that no one's bothered answering my question. Nobody who claims that this happened answers my question. Or answers anybody else who says that makes this point. Not just me, I'm not the only super genius that figured this out. But I want to see a legitimate answer to that. Why would the Russians do that when there's no reason for them to do that because they're about to win this war? So let's see. All right. So we got more bullshit here. The Russians are actively trying to create a nuclear catastrophe in Ukraine. Total bullshit. Russia's a terrorist state. Total bullshit. Again, there's more bullshit. It's not even Pekka Kalomenihinimir. I butchered that, but whatever. He's the creator of something soup. I don't know who the fuck he is. And he's a propagandist, so who gives a shit? Let's see. So in this vein, let's continue. True, 100%. The pro-war people will say anything, keep this war going. No matter how silly, mind-numbingly stupid it is, they will do it because that's all they have left. That's all they have left, and it's just so absurd that it drives me crazy. Like, throughout the day, it drove me crazy. So, this is, in that vein, this is more propaganda here, try to continue the war. This is from newly minted New Jersey Senator Andy Kim. He replaced Bob Menendez, by the way, and he just looks like a big dumbass nerd, if that makes any sense. If you've seen Andy Kim, photos of him. He replaced Bob Menendez in the Senate and for my home state, and he's, this is J.D. Vance speaking in front of Munich Security Conference. I was in the room in Munich for the VP Vance's speech. No talk about Russia, Ukraine, China, just criticism of our allies and focus on the threat from within. His speech is going to embolden our adversaries who will see this as a green light to act while America is distracted and divided. In other words, more pro-war bullshit like, oh yeah, how dare you criticize our allies? You're supposed to criticize Russia and China. Remember, our enemies. They're our enemies. Trust me, the U.S. knows that China is our enemy, and you're going to be happy what they do once the Ukraine war is over. Because next, I'm going to be covering the next year or two how we're saber rattling with China and how we're going to arm Taiwan, give them all the weapons they want, and that's what's going to happen next. Quote, hear me now, quote me later. They'll arm Taiwan to the fucking hilt. They'll all be carrying weapons. So that's what's next. That's what's next, and that's the next threat that we're going to have to deal with here. So let's see. More total bullshit. All right, so thank you for joining us, everybody. Love doing the show with you guys. Make sure you like and subscribe. Kind of miss Alex though. I mean, we used to bounce plenty stuff off of each other. Hopefully he'll be back next week. Let's see. More total bullshit propaganda here. Ironically, he claims this is total Russia propaganda. I mean, let's see what Trump says first. Trump says the war started because Biden said Ukraine to join NATO. Total true. I mean, that did happen. I don't see any country in Russia's position will allow him to join NATO. Again, total truth. I don't understand. Like, people are getting mad at Trump telling the truth. Just total Russia propaganda. Bullshit. Never happened in reality. Yes, he did. Joe Biden did say that. Did you forget? Or are you just conveniently ignoring that in order to thinking of this narrative that Trump is pro-Russia? Unbelievable. A U.S. president would repeat this bullshit. We have to go along from here. This man, no leader, the free world. By the way, yes, please, go at it alone. Ukraine, go fight Russia on your own and see how it turns out for you. Because what I'm going to do, I'm going to sit back with a beer and some popcorn and watch you guys just obliterate yourselves. Sorry. That's what I'm going to do. It's like, oh, well, you guys said you could do it yourselves. There you go. That's what you get. Please go at it yourselves. Shit. I mean, you want to keep fighting Russia by all means. You're all going to die horrible deaths, but please go. I have my popcorn, my beer, and I'll be sitting here in the United States looking at you guys die. So sorry. I mean, good luck to you. Go at it alone. See how it turns out for you. Fucking pricks. I know that sounds kind of callous, but these fucking assholes there think they think they're entitled to our money. These fucking assholes think they're entitled to our money. Let's see. Let's go with a little more time. So this is J.D. Vance calling out European leaders. This made them very angry, and they're very butthurt about this because I've seen so many tweets from the European Union leaders so butthurt about J.D. Vance's speech, and it's like, there's no way it could be that bad, because again, the issue with the European Union is they think they're entitled to our money too, because we fund NATO, we fund the European Union. We protect them, with our military protection from Russia, because in their minds, they think Russia's going to attack them at some point. And it's just all total bullshit, I'm like, as long... So I actually not listened to this. I listened to some of it, but not the whole thing. But it can't be this bad. Like, there's no way it could be this bad. All right, let's go there. Let's do that. Sorry about that. NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte says Europe must spend more on defense or we will not be safe. Yeah, spend more money on defense, guys. Definitely.
And unfortunately, when I look at Europe today, it's sometimes not so clear what happened to some of the Cold War's winners. I look to Brussels, where EU commissars warn citizens that they intend to shut down social...
They're commissioners, not commissars, but, you know, whatever. It's a tiny thing, but J.D. Vance obviously screwed up there.
media during times of civil unrest, the moment they spot what they've judged to be, quote, hateful content. Or to this very country, where police have carried out raids against citizens suspected of posting anti-feminist comments online as part of, quote, combating misogyny on the internet.
Again, he's not wrong. The Germans have done that. They've arrested people for wrongthink and sending out tweets that offend people, just like the UK have done. So he's not wrong about that. You know, they're taking this social justice warrior talk stuff to extreme levels. So again, he's not wrong about that.
A day of action. I look to Sweden, where 2 weeks ago the government convicted a Christian activist for participating in Koran burnings that resulted in his friend's murder. And as the judge in his case chillingly noted, Sweden's laws to supposedly protect free expression do not, in fact, grant, and I'm quoting, a free pass to do or say anything without risking offending the group that holds that belief.
And again, there's a giant irony here because the U.S. is either about to or pass a bill that basically says that we're not allowed to criticize Israel in any way and the Zionists in any way. But meanwhile, here comes J.D. Vance pointing out how horrible the Germans are when it comes down to their lack of freedom of speech protection, you know. But yeah, you know, just pointing out that irony there, because an obvious irony here when if you realize what's what the U.S. has actually done when it comes down to criticism of Israel, which is not allowed now, apparently.
And perhaps most concerningly, I look to our very dear friends, the United Kingdom, where the backslide away from conscience rights has placed the basic liberties of religious Britons in particular in the crosshairs. A little over 2 years ago, the British government charged Adam Smith Connor, a 51-year-old physiotherapist and an Army veteran, with the heinous crime of standing 50 meters from an abortion clinic and silently praying for 3 minutes. Not obstructing anyone, not interacting with anyone, just silently praying on his own. And after British law enforcement spotted him and demanded to know what he was praying for, Adam replied simply, it was on behalf of the unborn son he and his former girlfriend had aborted years before. Now, the officers were not moved. Adam was found guilty of breaking the government's new buffer zones law, which criminalizes silent prayer and other actions that could influence a person's decision within 200 meters of an abortion facility.
Well, again, this is just because the U.S. has done. The U.S. won't do this, but at the same time, you know, it's like, really? I mean, what about Richard Medhurst? Again, that's so much worse than this. Yes, that's horrible, and if that's true, if the way J.D. Vance described it is true, that's horrible. But what about Richard Medhurst? This is a journalist who the UK government has harassed and accused of terrorism now for 2 or 3 years, and now that there's an update on that, apparently they've enlisted the help of the Austrian government to go after Richard Medhurst too for terrorism, more terrorism charges. So, yeah, what about that, J.D. Vance? You don't mention that. I mean, that's probably more important than what happened to this poor guy, which is horrible too, if that's actually what happened. But I don't know. I'm not going to take the vice president's word for it, but yeah, what about Richard Medhurst? Nothing but Richard Medhurst, huh, JD? So let's say a little bit more of this, and then
facility. He was sentenced to pay thousands of pounds in legal costs to the prosecution. Now, I wish I could say that this was a fluke, a one-off crazy example of a badly written law being enacted against a single person. But no, this last October, just a few months ago, the Scottish government began distributing letters to citizens whose houses lay within so-called safe access zones, warning them that even private prayer within their own homes may amount to breaking the law. Naturally, the government urged readers to report any fellow citizens suspected guilty of thought crime. In Britain and across Europe, free speech, I fear, is in retreat.
Yeah, well, it's dead, but it's also free speech is also in retreat in America. So let's not act like only Europe is guilty of this, because where America is guilty of this too, and so much worse. So with Edward Snowden and with Julian Assange, and so let's not point too many fingers of Europe here, because they're just as guilty. We're just as guilty of that. So all right, let's see. So we got more. We got another part of the speech here, which is referring to. Hold on, let me see.
We're at the point, of course, that the situation has gotten so bad that this December, Romania straight up canceled the results.
Yes. So Romania canceled results of their elections earlier. At the end of last year, because allegedly there was Russian influence in the election. So they obviously had to cancel the election and not seat the new party that was elected, right? So
a presidential election based on the flimsy suspicions of an intelligence agency and enormous pressure from its continental neighbors. Now,
there was an intelligence agency that claimed that, well, there's Russian influence in your election. So they just took the word of it, and the pressure to be pressured, because they didn't want pro-Russian government to take power. So it's like, oh yeah, but you know what? Those elections, they don't count actually. Sorry, we're just gonna cancel it, because one intelligence agent said it might have been Russian influence in the election. So
as I understand it, the argument was that Russian disinformation had infected the Romanian elections. But I'd ask my European friends to have some perspective. You can believe it's wrong for Russia to buy social media advertisements to influence your elections. We certainly do. You can condemn it on the world stage even. But if your democracy can be destroyed with a few $100,000 of digital advertising from a foreign country, then it wasn't very strong to begin with.
Burn! Straight up burn there. And this is what triggered the EU and made them very angry. This part here in particular. Because, JD Vet, he doesn't know what he's talking about. He doesn't know what he's talking about. They were really butthurt about that. And my ex account, I've seen these asswipes, running their mouths about how horrible everyone is and stuff. It's like, really? Is that what we're going to do? We're just going to spread total bullshit and, excuse me, and do stuff like that? Because, all right, let's see. Anything else? Nope. Well, you know what? I want to thank everybody for watching this week. Love you all. Make sure you like. Give me that subscribe. We also have the bot around. If you guys want to use there's a QR code there to help out the show. Greatly appreciated. If you're unable to, just hang out in the chat. Give me that like, subscribe. Hang out with me and stuff like that. I greatly appreciate you guys being around for me. I want to thank everybody very much for watching. We should be able to do a pro wrestling talk tomorrow at 8. I assume so. I mean, we'll see what happens. But if it will definitely be with you guys tomorrow at 8 for pro wrestling talk. We'll also be back next Friday, 7:00 Eastern for Angel in the afternoon. I hope Alex will be back next week, because I did miss bouncing stuff off of him and his point of view. And I hope everybody enjoyed the show. Give me a like, subscribe. The donation links are around there if you're able to donate. If not, just hang out in the chat. Thank you very much for watching. And I'm going to see you guys tomorrow night, hopefully, a pro wrestling talk. Have a nice weekend, everybody.